how many Christians understand what Christ means? I mean, you can't talk, I hear Christians talking all the time about Antichrist, and they haven't got the faintest idea what Christ means. How many people know what the word Christ means and where it comes from? Means Christ comes from Christos. Christos in Greek means oil. That's why you have Pillsbury cooking oil called Crisco. Crisco is Christo. Christo is Christ. So Jesus Christ is Jesus the oil. I mean, that's what it means, Jesus oil. Okay? You say, well, Jesus, why? Well, because Jesus was the anointed. When you always become anointed with oil. The kings in Israel were always anointed with holy oil, so they became anointed. You know what the word anointed means in Hebrew? I don't want to get into that right now. Basically, anointing comes from the word sex. You'd be surprised how much sex is entwined in religion. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. There's a huge amount of words and terms and symbols. And when we begin to see how these stories have been put together and misrepresented, again, I believe that the Bible has been misrepresented. I think that if you go back into the ancient world and begin to see where the Bible comes from, who wrote it, and you begin to read the encoded story, it becomes fascinating stuff.
What is the Jesus, the oil Christ story actually fit then? What is the, or who is Jesus Christ to you, or is your understanding of these things?
Well, Christ is merely oil, and oil was used to anoint kings and princes, and all of the ancient world. All the ancient world always anointed their kings and rulers and princes with oil. They poured it in the head of the kings and princes, and therefore you were anointed. The word anoint was a word that was used in relation to sex. And so the king always represented the penis head. The king was always the big cock in town. He was the major penis head. He was the major man. He represented the male fertility. And all the women belonged to him. He was the king. So he represented the male phallic. And in the ancient world, they always lubricated the head of the male phallic in sex. So that's why you would anoint the head of the king. The head of the king represents the head of the penis, because the whole concept of man ruling is a sexual thing. It's been around for thousands of years, the war between male and female. That's a war going on between male and female. And in the patriarchal system of things, the king represented the male phallic. And we got a bunch of penis heads still running in Washington, D.C. They're all a bunch of penis heads. They think with their penis. They think with their penis. That's all they are. That's all. You know, Bill Clinton, he thinks he's the only one. That whole thing is filthy. It's nothing more than sex and power. We're talking about mafia, sex, drugs, entertainment, buying and selling.